Hi, good evening, everybody. This is your Commander STARFLEET Fleet Admiral Steve Parmley. Tonight, we are going to be having a candidate showcase. If you have questions, please put them in the comments. If you have comments and I don't see it, send me a message. Tonight, we are joined with Admiral David Nottage, Vice Admiral Ryan Case, Admiral Mark Anderson, and Admiral Sam Black. Hopefully, we'll get the rest of the team to come on here, and we'll go from there. Good evening, gentlemen. How's everybody doing tonight?
What's up, Steve?
Excellent.
Doing great.
Excellent.
All right, so
I'm
let's
feeling
see.
like the low rank in the room today.
Little top heavy.
A little top heavy.
I think that's the first time we've had that many admirals on in
Yeah.
one sitting, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, you can't swing a dead vole in here without hitting an admiral.
So we don't have any questions yet, but we'll let. I'll start off with David, since both your team members are here. We'll let you guys go first. Talk about your platform, your goals, and we'll move on to Sam.
Excellent.
Sam,
Well, good evening, everybody. Mark, it's great to see you. And Sam, thanks for coming in on time. Everybody appreciates it out there, I'm sure. I am a candidate for Commander STARFLEET, and my team is called One Fleet. We are focusing in on a bunch of core values that we have: fun, camaraderie, leadership, diversity, and we are putting together a team that's going to take what Steve Parmley has done and his team, and with a little bit of a twist, we're going to try and do it a little bit better. Some of our, as some of you guys have seen, we have been communicating quite fervently, not only on our website, which is on the background behind me, but also on Facebook. And we will be contacting folks in various forms through our email system. And my running mate is Vice Admiral Ryan Case.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
all right, Mark. Let's move to you. Let's
All right.
about you.
All right. Well, my running mate's not here. He lives in Iceland, so it's about 2 o'clock in the morning over there. So I don't know. He may have fell asleep. I know I felt like it. Anyway, Mark Anderson, Admiral Mark Anderson, running for Commander STARFLEET as well. A lot of the same goals as David had mentioned, but mostly continuing on what Steve has done, making improvements where we can, looking at new technologies, new way to communicate, making sure everyone's feeling welcomed in Starfleet. Like I said, we need to have a big tent, big tent with lots of people, lots of different interests, lots of different levels of interest. Very surely we need more diversity. We need to look at better communications, and everybody says better communications, but we definitely need that and way to reach out. And when I say reach out and touch, that doesn't sound right, but reach out and communicate with each member if necessary. Make sure communication is flowing in both ways, up and down, so we hear about problems and can resolve those problems.
Okay, Sam, I'll let you go ahead and talk about your guys' platform. I know TJ is not here yet, but I'll let you go ahead.
All right. Hi, I'm Sam Black. Some of you may have remembered me from a long time ago. I've been around since the Dark Ages. Since before the Dark Ages. Yeah, fun times. We want to make sure that, Starfleet continues in its positive moves forward. We've got a lot of experience between the two of us. We want to make sure that, the full everybody's always complained about the database being so splintered. We're still, hopeful that eventually we'll have a unified database and everyone's worried about, the academy not being fully updated and everything. Well, that's of course coming. But right now, we're doing what we can to keep from the, keeping that under the breakdown point within all of the parameters that we have. But we're here to help. We're here to put a team together that will make sure that we don't break anything that's not broken, and keep things on the right path to make sure that all of Starfleet, not just the U.S. and North America-based Starfleet members, feel like they are included in all of the decisions.
All right, thank you. So we have our first couple of questions. I'm going to start with David. First question is, what does your administration see as a vision for humanoid resources?
Currently, humanoid resources seems to be operating pretty efficiently. Those people that have been using it have been getting some really good candidates out of it, and even some new candidates. I think that with all of our aspects of Starfleet, we just need to get the information out in a better format and in an easier way, where we are offering deliverables versus making the member have to come to a specific website, even to the database, to come and get it. We want to deliver that to you. We want the product to come to you.
All right, Mark.
Well, like I said, I think one of the things with humanoid resources is the when things are posted, we need to have information distributed, like David said, and have it out there long enough that people have a chance to look at it and make a decision if they want to do something with it, if they want to apply or what they want to do. So I agree, we should be pushing the information out instead of people having to come and get it. Like I say, with the technologies available today, I don't see why that couldn't happen.
All right, thank you. Sam?
Considering I was Sal Lizard's chief of staff back when the HR department was first brought around, I know it's grown a lot since those days, but we really want, I know that it's a very valuable resource in order to be able to make sure that all of Starfleet has the ability to compete, or not compete, but apply for and have the same opportunities, and not just have a Starfleet run by a circle of friends with everybody sharing the same, wearing 5-6 different hats all the time.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Our next question is from retired CS Fran Booth. David, pick one area that you think needs improvement and briefly tell us how you wish to improve it.
Hi, Fran. Thank you for the question. I think that, and this is going to kind of go along with with what I just said before, but communications, the CQ needs improvement. Currently, you have to know your database, log in to go get it. And then you have to download it. And then it's a big file. And those people that want to print it may not necessarily be able to unless they do it in black and white. What we want to do, and part of what we're doing with our communications during this campaign, is showing you the very basic power of MailChimp. And MailChimp can become something even bigger and even better, to where you'll get this hit. And then from there, a link will securely take you to where you need to go, so you can actually read the articles. There'll be an availability for you to download the file. It'll be fully printable. At the same time, we are also working on being able to click on a box to have it auto-translate into French and Spanish. We are still working out the details of that. But we have that as part of our accessibility goal, is to really try to work with the global membership to make sure that we communicate in as much detail and as transparently as possible. So yeah, the communique just needs to be taken into the next century at this point.
All right, Sam, I'll let you answer the same thing too.
I communication has improved over the years, but I'm definitely on the same page of we definitely need to work more on. It used to be, we put the membership packets in the members' hands. We put the communique in the members' hands. We need to be able to be a little more able to push that out to make that more accessible to all of the membership, and not just always make them come to us on what could be a mobile phone, maybe all they have to be able to get on the internet and still try to read a communique, pinching and zooming and that kind of stuff. That's been something that I've kind of been concerned with the last since all of that went away. But that's something that I hope that we can improve on myself.
All right, Mark, I'll let you answer the same question.
Well, like I said in the first statement, communications. But I think what we really need to do is have communications and computer operations work a lot closer together, because a lot of the things we're talking about in communications here is going to basically be dependent on computer operations being able to make that happen. There's new technologies coming out every day that make it easier to, like David was saying, to get that information out there in people's hands. We need to really look at the products that are available. We need to evaluate them every year, see what improvements we can make, do analysis. Well, what's a cost versus reward for each piece of technology or whatever we're going to be using to, like you say, get that information out there, get it into people's hands. But computer operations is going to have a big part in helping develop all of that infrastructure to do that.
All right. I have a question sent to my Facebook account. It says, question for each teams, can we get minutes of the Admiralty Board published in the same quarter the meeting took place on the SFI website for all to read? How will you do this, and how fast can it happen?
Ooh, can I take it?
Go ahead, Ryan.
Look, I'm going to speak very candidly. Steve, you know my feelings on it. As a current member of the Admiralty Board, it drives me insane. If I'm elected, I can make you this solemn promise. I've put it out there very easily, and I genuinely think others recognize this problem. So you're not hearing anything that's others aren't thinking. It is astounding that an Admiralty Board can't get an agenda sooner than a week out from its own meeting. It is astounding that we can't get our minutes within a month of having had the meeting, especially when you've got members of the Admiralty Board willing to write them. I can promise you that I can basically say within 2 weeks, the minutes will be in hand. Within a month, they'll be posted to our website. Like it's kind of ridiculous that it hasn't been. I know we're a volunteer organization. I know we're, all doing our absolute best. That, sometimes some people's best just isn't enough. But like, I have been a secretary for several organizations. I have done this job specifically. And I can make you this promise. They'll be written essentially by the end of the meeting with a little small bit of editing at the end. That's all it would take.
All right. Mark?
I totally agree with that. I mean, we need to get the minutes almost verbatim. I mean, they have speech to text technology now where it record what you're saying as you're saying it and record it into a document. We could use that. I had said before to another question, the way my chapter operates is we have old business and new business. If we've talked about it before at the meeting before, that goes to the old business on the next meeting. everybody knows what that is because we talked about it before. That's published. That's on the agenda. Then we vote on it at that meeting. Anything new that comes up, we don't vote on it right there unless it's an emergency or something. We talk about it. That goes to the old business for next month. So you're always in that process. You deal with the old business at the next meeting. You deal with the new business at the following meeting. So that way everything's published and it's out there. Now, also, what we do is we have a hybrid meeting. We have an online and we have in person. The people who can't meet physically at the location have the internet. Everybody can get to the internet most of the time. So it's everywhere. But we have that so they can attend and listen and see what's happening. And then we communicate between the meetings every month, and everything is discussed and planned out. And then we vote on it and move on. Like I say, like Ryan said, why can't we do that with the AB board? Why can't we? And so, yeah, definitely for that.
All right. Thank you. Sam?
Well, as I still remember when I was chief of staff, one of my jobs was always to wrangle the Admiralty board and to make sure we had the agendas put together and have all, it wasn't my job to put together the minutes. That was the IG's job at that time. But, if you've got a good agenda, it's very easy to make sure that the minutes are out there and are plugged in for all the decision making and that kind of stuff. And I don't see why, as the one who would be taking over as the secretary of the corporation, why that wouldn't be such a, why it should take, months and months and months. That just boggles my mind as well. So, I mean, I've had this experience with the body in the past, so I, have no problems taking care of that.
All right. Thank you. Question from Carol Thompson. I would like to ask all teams, what real life volunteer experience do you have running a nonprofit or not-for-profit organization? We'll start this time in reverse with Sam Black.
We can talk about my experience in Starfleet and when we got things back on track. Actually, being the first team to hire, corporate lawyers and everything like that to make sure we were doing business correctly. Outside of Starfleet, on our own chapter, I have served as our CO, our XO. I've been treasurer as well as the rules monger. I have also been involved with Red Cross and disaster relief, as well as being in the leadership team during some of the evacuee response that we had here after the Katrina and Rita hurricanes. I have been I've been a teacher. This is about Monday morning. I start year 27, so being involved in running shoestring budgets is definitely in my wheelhouse.
All right.
I know TJ's been around in a lot of stuff as well, so we between the two of us, we've got lots of things covered.
All right, thank you, Mark.
Well, for a nonprofit, probably the best experience and most experience I have for nonprofits or not-for-profits is when I first moved here from Germany. My girlfriend at the time worked for Abilities of Florida. They would train the people with disabilities to return to the workforce and train them how to build computers and different things like that. And every year they had a big wine tasting. It was one of their main fundraisers for the year. So I helped coordinate and make sure that happened. They had it at a big executive airplane hangar down here at Clearwater Airport. So we did that for several years. Most of my other experiences been in the profit world, as it were. I helped do IT budgets, several hundreds of thousands of dollars at a time, for depending on how big the company was. One of the companies I worked for, just our SQL licensing for 1 year was almost $350,000. So I've had to plan hardware replacements over 3 years, server upgrades. So I've did tons and tons of IT budgets. So that's kind of where my experience lies, is in the profit world and not necessarily the nonprofit world.
All right. Thank you, David.
So most of my nonprofit and not-for-profit experience has been through these Star Trek clubs. And between my chapter, another club that I ran as Fleet Admiral for quite a few years, also within being on the board of this organization, and understanding what participatory volunteerism means, adding a little bit of flexibility in everything you do. It's not like the for-profit world where you're getting paid to do a job. Most of my real world experience, however, has been in the for-profit in varying industries, from offset printing to desktop publishing, finance, running my own restaurant, and all the while working with nonprofits like La Casa de las Madres here in San Francisco, with the San Francisco AIDS Walk and the food drives that happen here, creating donations and creating philanthropy. It's all of it is applicable back and forth to each other. The key is as long as you understand the difference in nuances of the law that has to deal with that type of a corporation, that's what really matters. And as long as you have good people willing to be dedicated to work for the betterment, and in this case, for the ideals of Gene Roddenberry and it.
Ron, would you like to answer too? Since I'll go ahead and this is probably an important question, so we'll make sure you get answered too.
By and large, the only other organization that outside of the Admiralty Board that I've served on is a music fraternity that I served on, part of our province board for our not-for-profit arm there. Again, just serving on a board. I've not been a president, but I am now currently serving that organization as one of its province governors. So I'm actually one of the ones that kind of oversees. I kind of act as the chair for their meetings, but otherwise, Admiralty Board is all I've got for this organization.
Thank you. Next question. Facebook users, if you guys go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, it will show your name. Next question is, what's the plan for international members? Mark, I'll let you go with this one first.
Well, my plan is having the Region 9 coordinator on my team. I think it's probably not like I told a couple of people, it's probably not the best political choice, but I think it was important to have an international member on the leadership team. I think we need as much international representation as we can possibly get. He has a unique experience, which I think will be very helpful. He started out in Region 1, and then before he moved to Iceland. So I have a little bit of experience with Region 9 in the 90s, back when I was in Germany. I was in a Star Trek fan club there on base at Patrick Henry Village in Heidelberg and that area. And we worked with Region 9 Region 9 coordinator back then for a couple of Star Trek events and one big convention in Mannheim. But other than that, they really got to feel that they belong to the organization. So we really need to make sure we get them included in things, and that includes scheduling things that are other than United States time. And I know we're going to the UTC time frame, but still, though, if you're doing something at 3 p.m. in California, your difference in time in Iceland and in Europe and Australia and places. So we're really gonna kind of schedule things when those people in those other regions are available.
Did Steve leave us?
Steve? Oh, there he is.
There he is.
David, go ahead. David, you can go next.
All right, thank you. All right, so our international members, we like to call them our global members. We have kind of been using that term in a symbol of unity, that it is all of our membership on a global scale. The first thing that we need to do is listen. We need to hear about what it is that they want from the organization. Some of the things that I have heard is that we need a better distribution process, not only for the quartermaster, but also for booths and just branded and logoed materials that we can supply. I think that what's been mentioned is the timeframes for meetings and such. Between 2 and 3 p.m. California time is actually pretty good for both Region 20 and for Region 5. Region 15. And it would it definitely brings together everybody when we can find the right time. Ryan, is there something that you could add to that?
As far as specific ideas, the only thing I point to a lot of the times, are listening, because there's no way for me to put myself in the shoes of our global members. They have very specific problems. They have very specific issues with the way the organization is run. Frankly, I've heard Mark's running mate do some of that on the Admiralty Board lists. Listening is the most important thing we can do. One of the things I would like to personally see is to see if we can offer, as an organization, something to the global membership that they've not been offered before. I don't know any specific promises I could make, but one of the things that I wasn't even aware of until I was talking with my friend over in Region 20, that they didn't have access to Paramount Plus for months, frankly, years. It's like,
yeah,
that's something that, like, maybe we could haggle around with, like being a member of Starfleet grants you access to something. Again, this is not a campaign promise. It was just, it stunned me when I heard it, and I was like, we could do something, right?
Yeah, one quick thing. I know exactly what you're talking about. When I was in Germany, you know how I got episodes of Star Trek? BSH tapes in the mail.
Yep.
What, you weren't watching them on Betamax?
No,
Yeah.
no, it was VHS.
Mark, along the same lines,
Yeah.
Mark, with me being in Hawaii, UPN 44, if you guys remember that station.
Yeah.
We didn't get that on the Big Island where I was going to school. And so my mom would actually record them for me on VHS tape and send 7 episodes until what was it, Columbia House that put out the fancy tapes?
Yep.
And she would send them up, and I would pretty much the whole campus would come to our dorm in our center quad area in front of a old-fashioned tube TV, and we would all sit there and watch The Next Generation.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You almost felt like a drug dealer, didn't you? Hey, look what I got.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, guys. Hang on, guys. Let's stay on topic. Sam?
Well, one thing, and I think would be most helpful, is to think of we are all Starfleet members. Our intention is to, we've done our, I've been involved in the Academy. That's been my latest endeavor over the last couple of years. One of the few places that I haven't worked at yet, and that's kind of how they pulled me in. But being able to just think about everybody as we're all members, and make sure that everyone again has an equal opportunity to participate at the levels of their desire, and to make things as accessible as possible on the 24-hour clock, and around the globe. Again, if there's something that we, the whole idea of being able to try as a benefit of Starfleet to maybe be able to hold watch parties online or something for our international members, to be able to, as a lot of services have the availability to do so, and be able to, share in the experience. I mean, we all, chapters, we get together and watch episodes. Why can't we do that as Starfleet?
I do want to welcome Jeffrey Higdon from his campaign. Jeff, I'll tell you the rules real quick. You wasn't here earlier. Won't be no mudslinging. Everybody will be giving each person their time. There will be no cussing or any issues like this. Jeff, I'll let you go with your first questions. What's your plan for international members?
Well, first of all, I've been hearing a lot of complaints about the lack of communications between our EC and AB and all that when it comes to getting their voices heard, and vice versa. This is very important that we need to make sure their voices are heard, include them in the fleet. Now, mind you that about 90% of the fleet is here in the United States, but that doesn't mean we have to exclude that 10% that is not part of the fleet now, that are not part of the local fleet. In other words, the continental United States and Canada. These people have just as much a voice as anybody else, and we need to listen to them. I think everybody agrees on that. To include them is also important. How do we include them? Possibly holding sideline international conferences overseas. We've tried that before. It hasn't worked out too well. So we've got to come up with a new plan. Getting together like we've done with this show, After Dark. I don't know how many times we've seen John Hardy on here half asleep, but yet he's here, he's with us, and he tries to be a part of this fleet. And that is one of the ways we can do it. There are so many ways we can include our international members. Just listening to some of what Sam says, very viable. We need to include our members in our fleet to the extent they feel a part of our fleet.
All right. Thank you, sir. We're going to move on to the next question here. It says, how does each of your campaigns want to grow the auxiliary services that aid people with ranks that no longer exist on Mako and Fleet? Jeff, since you were first, since you're new in, we'll go ahead and let you go with this question.
Well, yeah. Our auxiliaries are an important part of Starfleet. It started out with the Starfleet Marine Corps. We've had the MACOs, or our special force, our special operations, as they're sometimes called. I don't know what they mean by rank, to tell you the truth, because rank is pretty well evened out between the auxiliaries that we have. But we have to make them feel that they're just as important to the fleet. Starfleet Marine Corps, Special Operations or MACO, our medical department, science are needed to make this association a more viable option for everybody. And we need to make sure that whatever billet, as we call it, is just as important as the next billet. Our hierarchy and our rank system must include everybody, or it can't include anybody. So,
all right, thank you, sir. Sam?
Well, you know, the auxiliary services have grown and shrunk and morphed over the years. I know TJ has been involved with the Marines and Spec Ops and Mako. I think he was even there when the first changeover was made. I've been involved with Spec Ops and with the Marine Corps. over the years. This is where Starfleet gets its flavor, and people get involved. And so I say I'm full support of the auxiliary groups that the membership can support and that the membership wants to support. That it's that's that whatever we can open up to take suggestions from all over in order to be able to produce what gives the Starfleet members what they want from Starfleet.
Thank you, Bart.
Well, I think the auxiliary services really, I got involved with the Marines once I found out they were there. So I think letting people know that they're there and what they're doing is a big stepping stone to get more people involved with that. And it's like you said, everybody has specialty interests. We all like Star Trek. We all love Star Trek. But some people have specialty in interests like engineering. I kind of, with my military background, I kind of find the Marine structure is what kind of draws me to that. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but that's what drew me in there to start with. So I think it's important to have those, make sure people know they're there, and they can focus their special interest or whatever they have on those auxiliary departments, because there's a wide variety of that. And as far as the ranks, like I said, I don't really know what they mean by that question, but
yeah, I think that might have just been a typo.
Yeah, but the main thing is to get involved, volunteer. There's plenty of open positions in the Marines or special operations or anywhere in fleet at all levels. So keep an eye out on the humanoid resources department we talked about earlier. See what's out there. See if something piques your interest. Everybody's got special skills, and volunteer. If you want to move up through the ranks, that's one of the easiest ways to do it is volunteer. Volunteer your time and your abilities, and make the organization that much better and stronger.
I do want to just let everybody know that on this question here, if you do not know, you new members, make sure you check with the membership handbook. It explains the ranks. Your CO does all the way up to commander. RCs do captain and above, and EC does fleet captain above. So make sure you understand that. David, by all means, sir, you're looking so excited over there for this question. So
no, that's just what happens when you go at the end of the file there. So I look at this question as two parts. I'm going to start with the second part. And say that while I don't quite understand what the person is looking for, I do invite you to go to either our Facebook group or our Q&A section and enter a more detailed question in there that we can answer. Also, the main election Facebook group, if you have that access. As far as the auxiliaries go, I look at the auxiliaries as a focal point of the organization. As it's been stated, that's where all the fun and the camaraderie comes from. When somebody has a specialized interest and you get enough people together, like Pet Fleet, like medical, these folks all want to talk just that topic together. And if that's what gives them, gives them the fun, the rest of it comes along with it. The SFMC to me is a unique area that we have. They started off as their own organization and entered into Starfleet. They have a lot of different aspects that the other auxiliaries don't. And I think that if some of the other auxiliaries want to either aspire to be or reorganize to a point where they have their own specialized courses, even their own bank accounts, that are helped and managed so that they can do things and add to the recognition of the organization, I think that would be absolutely fantastic. I'd like to see them grow. I'd like to see new ones form, and be able to utilize those as specialty items within the organization.
All right, thank you.
Can I add one thing, Steve?
Absolutely. I just got your message. Go ahead.
other thing that I'll just kind of add here at the tail end is just because one of us becomes CS and the other VCS or anything like that, taking an active role in those auxiliary services is not something we're not allowed to do. One of the things that I'm currently working on is trying to get a group up off the ground, and we're hoping to get it announced at the VIC coming up, and it's literally just a group for creators, whether it be physical or digital media. I'm trying to stay heavily involved across the organization, and I think if you guys aren't, you definitely should get involved in some of these organizations, because frankly, I don't know how all of them necessarily work day in and day out, and becoming part of them, I think, is a big deal.
All right. I do have a question that's sent to me in my Facebook Messenger. What is your stance on the LBGTQ community and Star Trek, and how will you interact it and make it more accessible for Starfleet members to be included, is what they said. Who wants to go first?
I'll take that one.
Okay, go ahead.
So one of our core values is diversity. We have a firm belief that whether you are part of the LGBTQA plus community, whether you are a woman, a person of color, whatever the case is, to us, that matters in respect for you. But when we're looking for talent and we're looking for participation, we're not looking for that necessarily. We're looking for your skills. We're looking for your smarts, your ingenuity, and for what you can bring to the table to better the organization. I think that we need to be more accepting of the diversity within our own ranks. I mean, that is part of it, is diversity, and it should be something extremely important to us. And as we go forward, maybe what the message is that we put out as a Star Trek fan organization is that we, as the rest of the world, should also be following along with that kind of a philosophy.
All right, thank you. Who wants to go next?
I'll go ahead and go if you want. Or
All right,
Sam.
Doesn't matter.
Go ahead, Sam.
Well, as you know, as one of the prime sayings, IDIC, infinite diversities and infinite combinations. We are better from all of our diversity. From it doesn't matter whether you're a person of color. It doesn't matter whether you're a person of a different sexual orientation. Whether it doesn't matter whether what part of the world you're from. Diversity is one of the best parts about Starfleet, and the fact that we all need to be made feel welcome. And I know that's one thing that we that TJ and I both agree on, that is there should be no judgment on that front of any kind.
All right, thank you, Mark.
Well, I totally agree with what David and Sam said. I think everybody should be accepted for who they are and what they are, and we shouldn't make any judgments. Say that IDIC was Gene Roddenberry's vision, right? We need to live up to that. We need to make everybody feel welcome and feel like they're at home here and part of the family. So I echo all of those sentiments.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff.
Well, I have to agree with these gentlemen here. They've gone and they've done some good things in their statements here. It is IDIC. It is diversity. We need to dig at our people to see what we can get the best of. It's not just, hey, I can do this. Take me. Well, can someone else do it better? Perhaps. But we need to make sure that everyone's included. Like we've said a couple times, this is a family situation here. That we need to be inclusive on all levels, on all sexes, on all ages, on all races. It doesn't matter. If you can do the job, you should be considered for it. And the only reason you would be not considered for it is because there's already someone there doing just as good a job as they can.
Thank you, sir. All right. Next question is for all the candidates. Question from the future: why did your term fail, and how can that be prevented? So we're going to go with David because he's trying not to laugh loudly on screen. So David, please go ahead and take that far.
Boy, why would I really hope that if I were to win this, that my term doesn't fail. If it did, it would probably be because we didn't communicate something appropriately. And we are trying very, very hard to be as communicative as possible. And I think that that is going to be the key going forward.
All right. Thank you, sir. Mark, since you chuckled second, I'll let you go next.
Well, I'm going to go back in time and change it so this alternate timeline doesn't exist.
There you go.
No, anyway, no, and to this point, it really, we've got whoever the Commander STARFLEET is, and whoever ends up being the Commander STARFLEET, we've all got to get behind them, and we've all got to help, and we've got to support them, and if in the future the term fails and I'm in charge of it, then I own that. That's me. That's on me. I'm not shying away from any responsibility or anything. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody else. That would be on me, and I would take full responsibility for it.
All right, sir. Sam.
Well, I would probably have to say, probably, if anything, it would be a lower level of communication of some sort that just didn't get out there. Something didn't happen on time, and the only thing that we can do is be as prepared as possible to make sure that everything is as on time every time as possible.
Thank you, sir. And last but not least, Jeff.
Okay. I have to agree with both David, Mark, and also Sam on this. We don't want to fail. We're not going to fail. The best man's going to win, and we, as a collective, will support whoever wins, and will offer our services to that person if it is the best thing for the fleet. We are best served by being one in this area, and it just makes sense that we're not going to go out to fail. But what if I fail? Well, then I fail. Mark fails, David fails, Sam and TJ fails. We're not going out to fail. We're out to do what's good for the association as a whole, and we are going to do our best to be the very best. Even better than you, Steve.
I'll tell you what, I can't wait for my time. One of y'all need to hurry up and win it. I'm just saying. I will say this, Jeff. I'm not on a soapbox. I'm not running. So I will say this. The 3-year term I had definitely is not what I pictured. I did not picture a pandemic. I did not picture the loss of so many members. I did not picture never being able to be a CS at an in-person IC. But this is the hand that dealt me. I felt that each of these gentlemen on here on this screen has helped me in my 3 years. Each of these gentlemen would be an outstanding CS. I can't say nothing bad about any of them except for maybe the strange phone calls in the middle of the night. I'm just saying. But it's
Not me.
not you. All right, but I do have a question from Drew from the USS Russell Camp III. What is the stand toward people of special needs, and how do you see SFI adapting to accommodate limits? This one is a good one. I'll let you go first.
Well, I think I have special experience on that one because I am the father of a special needs person. Having to accommodate him and to make him a part of this association as much as anybody else in this fleet. I remember when I started out those 25, 26, 27 years ago, that there were some fantastic people to help us. And I'm going to mention B. Joe Trimble in that. She has a daughter of special needs. And I think Drew, who you asked the question, Drew, and anybody else who has a child or a brother or sister or mother or a father of special needs knows that it's important to make them a part of this association through participation and offering things. Now, they can't go out and I'm saying most of them will not be able to take most of our Starfleet Academy tests. My son happens to have passed OTS and, believe it or not, OCC at a time that probably he wouldn't have been able to do it. But we need to make those things better. We need to make the Academy better in tune for our special needs children. And I know that the Academy is trying their best to do that, whether it be the Starfleet Academy or our Starfleet Marine Corps Academy or our MACO, Special Ops or MACO Academy, that we are needing to be inclusive not only to all the normal, everyday persons and cadets out there, but these special needs, these special children and special people that needs to be just as much a part of this association as we are, because in fact, we are we're together on this. We want them to be a part of this, and there is no reason why they can't.
All right, thank you. Mark?
Well, I agree we have to do everything we can to make them part of the family and part of the Starfleet family. I think with this, we would need to work with people who know the most about the situation. The caregivers and parents and different people involved every day, with special needs people. And we really have to have an understanding of what they need and maybe their limitations, and make adjustments for that. It's the same thing. Everybody needs to be welcome. We should do everything we can to make everybody feel well.
All right, thank you. David?
Drew, thanks for this question. You and I have actually talked about some of these issues recently. And one of the things that in the term special needs to me means that these folks just need a little bit more help. Kudos to Jill Rayburn out there who, and my condolences on your loss, that you have been helping through the Academy and taking the extra effort to help those with special needs that come to the Academy. I think that all the Academy courses are able to be taken by any member of our organization. And sometimes these things just take a little bit longer. And as long as we have the flexibility and we have the will through IDIC to help these folks with special needs, we can just make it all a better place for everyone. And I think that they just need the extra help and the extra and cooperation and partnership from their the people that are on site with them. Thanks.
Thank you.
Nah.
Sam?
Well, in the past, I mean, just speaking personally, in the past, our chapter has had a number of special members that we have that we've always welcomed, and we even had to remove a member for basically, lying to them and stringing them along once over an academy course that supposedly they were helping them with, because that's not how you treat special people. As an educator, I'm well aware of numerous strategies and such in order to be able to help and assist. I do know that there have been a couple of instances in the academy recently that have come up that we've been doing our best to work on, that have had to that we've had to go through a number of extra hoops simply because of data protection and the current legal regulations, which, yes, I know they are a pain in the but unfortunately we have to follow the law, and we have to that helps us serve all the members as well as we can, and sometimes it takes extra time to find out extra information in order to be able to provide whatever additional assistance and additional welcoming help, whatever we need to do for those special members with special needs.
Thank you, sir. All right, we find the next question here. What are your thoughts about the EU's impact on our ability to communicate with the members at large with SFDPP restrictions? David, since you were one of the ones on the Admiralty Board that was a very vivid supporter of this and fighter for it, I'll let you go first.
Actually, I'm going to defer this one to Ryan.
Ooh, Ryan, hot seat.
Yeah, when I saw this question roll by earlier, I asked David to let me talk on it for just a second. The primary thing that I will say, and then David, I will hand it back because I know you have a lot to say on it, is an understanding. SFDPP and GDPR and everything that comes with it, certainly frustrating, but it's needed. It is an active protection to our membership. It's an active protection to the members of the countries that they come from. The United States is getting ready, like each of the various states are getting ready to roll out more and more of these. This was the most proactive thing Starfleet has done since I've been on the Admiralty Board. Like, most of what we've been trying to do has been playing catch up, trying to respond to different issues. We finally got out in front of something, and yes, it's caused some growing pains. Yes, it is frustrating to deal with. Like, nobody's going to say it isn't, but it was wholly needed. The other thing I will say is there are ways to navigate from within it. If you are the, I don't know how we refer to them, but basically the primary account holder for your Starfleet membership, you recently saw a mail out from our team from within those rules. And it is certainly possible. There are certain hoops that people have to jump through, but it is doable. And our mail out was kind of a proof of concept in that regard.
All right, thank you, David.
So SFPPP, or the real world term of GDPR, is a data protection. It is there to protect your data and the information that's in the database. As Ryan stated, there is some flexibility in how that data gets used, with current approvals and with discussions, and ultimately with a little bit of trust, the data can be used and should be used. Now, are there ways that people can not have their data used? You bet. The opt-out service, and if you want to not have your data out there, it should be we should be able to do that. We are currently finding through some of our use of the database that we've requested through the AB and through the IG that there are some missing pieces as to what the database can and cannot do in its current state. In our mailings, we do offer an opt-out. Could the presentation of how these mailings were going to come out be done a little bit better? Yeah, I agree with those comments that have come out. In our future communications that will come out to all of the head of households, we will make sure that they are regular, on a schedule, and that they will be that they'll be expected.
All right, thank you, sir. Mark?
Well, like everybody hates security. Trust me, I'm in IT. Everybody hates security. Two-factor authentication. The SFDPP or SFDDP, it's nothing. It's nothing compared to what's coming. Anywhere your personal data is being stored, any data, whether it's critical data or not, it's going to be more and more and more restricted. Like as Ryan said, every year more and more states are coming out, and the United States government for government contractors and things, they're doing this new CMMC program. I just did a PCI compliancy for one of our customers. That evaluation alone and for compliancy has grown over 50% in the last 2 years, and it's only going to get worse from here. The only one thing I would add to the opt-out, I think, and we should probably look at this for the new database, I don't really think it should be an opt-out. I think it should be an opt-in. So when your information's in the database, you can opt into the distribution. If you don't want the distribution or your data shared, you shouldn't have to opt out. You should have to opt in to have it shared. But that's more difficult to do inside of a database. Mm-hmm. But that may be something we want to look at when we're redoing our database.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Steve,
Sir.
Can I come back to this?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the opt-in, opt-out has been something that just recently has been being discussed quite a bit. One of the things that we are interested in doing is adding to our membership application and to the renewal and new member process, where you are going to be automatically opted in. However, the reason for the opt-out is there are going to be different types of communications. There are going to be different segments of communications, whether it's the communique that you may want to get, may not want to get. You may not want election information. You may not want, just throwing it out there, you may not want academy information. You may not want to know about people's birthdays or whether a new chapter is out there. So by being able to have each individual member have their freedom of choice to opt out is super important, because there's going to be a whole litany of different kinds of communication segments that can be put out there. And an opt-in is a blanket thing. It's going to be a one-shot deal. You're opt-in, you're going to get it all, or you're not going to get it all. What needs to happen currently and what should be happening is when you do opt-in, which doesn't get renewed. So you don't get that email that asks you to opt in when you renew your membership. And it should. Not that you're being treated as a new member, but that kind of communication you should agree to on a regular basis. So I just wanted to make, at least from my perspective, that's what we are looking for.
Thank you, sir. Any, mini, money. Oh, Jeff. Jeff, go ahead.
This is technically a new concept to a lot of people out there. The SFDPP, the European Union version of it, but it is getting to go around to a lot more than just us. I mean, mentioned states are opting into a data protection program. Cities are opting in, some major cities. So we got to pay attention to all of them. People don't understand that the Starfleet Data Protection Program is to protect you and your information from outside or abuse within. That's why our media services asks for your SEC number and permission to look at your information. It's important that we have that information or the access to that information. Because if you don't, we might as well just scrap it. It's not any use to us.
Thank you,
But
sir.
it is a necessary evil, and we'll work with it. We'll work through it. But remember that you need to have the knowledge of it.
Thank you,
Make
sir.
sure that you get out there, read our SFDPP, and all the others. There are many others out there. The European Union, California, Colorado, Illinois is about to put one in. So it's important that we know all about it.
Thank you, sir. Sam?
Steve, one thing to make note of, and I apologize, Sam, for stepping on you there. This is a 4-year program that we're in right now. We're on our 4th certification cycle coming up. So we've been doing this for 3 years. Everybody should know what SFDPP is by now. At least every commanding officer, executive officer, AB member, or anyone with specialized access. Sure, the regular member that doesn't have specialized access may not know because they haven't taken the courses. And I encourage you, take the first one.
Mhm.
It's informational. Thanks.
Sam?
Yes, well, that was exactly what I was going to say. Was
Sorry, Sam.
well, that's just so it's all a matter of if you don't know what DPP is, then we have a manual and a course on it, and that's where everyone should start. It's important enough that as I teach in what the field that I teach in is the IT field. I teach computer programming. I teach cybersecurity. It's like everybody really needs to understand that at some level you have to be able to take your own data into that's part of who you are, and anyone can impersonate you online quite easily if that's not greatly protected. And so it might make getting assistance, although a lot of people used to be able to do end runs around and go directly through some back channels and stuff to get things taken care of in Starfleet. But unfortunately, according to our data protection policies now, we can't do that kind of stuff anymore. Simply because and it's not that we don't want to help. Lord help, there's so many times that I want to help somebody, but it's when your hands are tied, and all I can do is say, well, I need you to go talk to this person. I can't go to them for you because I don't. It's like, even if you gave me permission nowadays, that we could at least in the old days ask, well, can I give them your phone number? Can I give them your email address? We can't do that anymore. It's a matter of I know it makes some people uncomfortable. So, well, I have a friend and I can always go to them. It's like, unfortunately, we all have to because of the laws and in play, we have to do things, unfortunately, by the book, as it were, sometimes. And sometimes there's no way around that.
Thank you, sir. So we're about an hour and 12 minutes in. I'm going to pick about 3 to 4 more questions, and we'll call it a night. We'll go with this next one from Tiffany Sabazic. How do you play to make these items available and remain in SFDPP compliance? Kudos on French and Spanish accessibility, plans for wider accessibility in other languages, readable documents for blind and low visibility and non-English speaking members. Who wants to tackle this question?
I'll take it on first here.
All right.
So as we go through all of these items, French and Spanish, that's the easy part, right? We can get translators to do that kind of stuff. The more we add into it, the more volunteers we need. And let me tell you, one of the hardest things with accessibility that I'm finding is we really need to have people come to the organization and say, hey, I know how to do Spanish. I know how to translate into French. I can do documents for the blind, low visibility. Let me help. The unfortunate thing is that if we don't get that kind of help and you want that kind of a service, there's a cost associated with it. And we need to try to be as careful as possible as to how we spend the money. We want to help, but it sometimes things just cost a little bit more. And I'm not sure, it says, how do you play? I think you're saying, how do you pay is what you're asking for there. And SFDPP
plan.
Plan. Okay. But with SFDPP, we have to do it. We're an international organization. If Region 20 goes away, Region 9 goes away, and 18 and everybody else, we don't need SFDPP anymore until the United States comes into compliance. But California is SFDPP compliant, and so any chapter is going to have to be as well. We have to take it one step at a time, and as a volunteer organization, we ask and sometimes beg for your participation to make these things happen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mark?
Well, I agree with a lot of what David said there. You got to have volunteers that know how to translate into other language and do things. And you also have to have that review process. So when you do make a change, you have a group of people that can review that and say, okay, yeah, this is still compliant and this is not. And as like I said before, this is going to be more and more states. So it really doesn't matter if we're not an international organization anymore. At some point, we will have to do that. And the way cybersecurity and things are happening now is the companies are being held reliable. If they're not doing their due diligence and doing everything that they can to protect your data, and we see these breaches all the time where millions of records were stolen, that's a lawsuit. That's the death knell for the organization. There's no way that we could survive anything like that if our database was breached and the information was stolen. So you've got to have your due diligence, make sure you're doing everything you can, and have a lot of review process to make sure that you're following the rules and everybody's following the rules, and take action when the rules are not being followed.
Thank you, sir. Mm-hmm. Sam?
Again, we've got to have people who are, willing to step up and help us with translations. It's like I can't go run out and learn a language well enough to be able to translate, learn all the languages to translate, the Constitution and the handbook into, 47 different languages. I'm not Uhura. I don't play her on TV. But we've got to have volunteers in order to be able to do that. I mean, and that comes from, doesn't matter whether it's the membership materials or the communique or the academy services. We've got to have people willing to, put the work in. And, and unfortunately, I mean, that's just the long and the short of it. Blind and low visibility, we do a lot to make sure we have, the ability to have like or have, text only versions of things, or have things available in a reader format as some of the websites are able to produce. But again, it's just a matter of making sure that we have things behind the right walls with the right levels of access in order to be able to stay within compliance.
Thank you, sir. Jeff.
Well, all of them have agreed that it takes volunteers to do this job. I mean, not just translations, not just writing, but also checking it out, checking what we need to do. Yes, we're going to need to have a compliance officer, of course. We do have compliance officers in the fleet. And we also need to have translators. But we also have to be mindful about the limitations of these people. There's such a thing as burnout. And to go about relying on a person and then all of a sudden they can't do the job because they're burned out, we got to make sure that we are able to rotate and keep our people fresh, and to be able to make sure that they do all the things that we need them to do as far as translations are done, as for the documents for our blind and low visibilities are done, and everything else that we do for our members.
Thank you, sir. Did I get everybody on that question? I believe I did. All right. Next question from Richard Steele. How are you going to engage young fans to SFI? Mark, we'll let you go first.
The young whippersnappers. That can be challenging. I'm not a young person. I'm going to have to talk to some young people and see. I have grandkids, but one's only 1, one's 3, so they don't tell me a lot. But I would really have to engage some of the younger membership, find out what they're interested in and what we can use to lure those people, but bring people in and get them involved in the organization, get them involved in some of the positions, get them to volunteer some of their time. Like I say, bring them into the family, make sure that they're having a good time. It's when I talk to my daughter and son, sometimes I don't get it sometimes. So definitely we'll need some help trying to figure that one out.
All right. David?
So this has been something that we've been discussing for a while. Even before I thought about being a candidate, my chapter, the USS Golden Gate, had a cadet corps, and it was a program that ran on a badge system of recognition, utilizing science and very basic participation or basic science projects, but full participation with the parents and guardians. I'd like to see something like that be created for the entire fleet. Take what we did here in our chapter and expand that. At the same time, we've got Prodigy that's out. We have a new show, and for those parents that allow it, Lower Decks is out there too. And of course, there's the animated series. So we have the tools. We just need to have good people to implement them. And I'm hopeful that once we if and when we get into office, we will be able to create a program relatively quickly to engage our young cadets. throughout the organization, and even have some collaboration internationally between different cultures. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sam?
Well, I know in the past, my chapters changed a lot over the years, and we've had cadet corps that have been very active in the past. I've known of plans that I would like to at least talk about with the appropriate authorities, so to speak. There's no reason why we couldn't have a national level or international level. Sorry. An international level of something along the lines of what the scouts have put together. As long as as long as we have all of the appropriate legalities covered. I know there's been talk over the years of comings and goings of this sort of program, and we definitely need to reach the younger crowd. I think also being able to publicize our scholarships programs to the college campuses is a great way to do that outreach and engage those those with a little less gray hair than some of us who've been around for a little while longer, to be able to come along and join this organization and help keeping it going for another number of years.
Thank you, Sam. Jeff?
Well, we definitely need to address our young members through participation. We mentioned our special needs kids. We need to also focus on these just as much, if not more. We can do this by identifying those who can lead us in the future, and it's very easy to do that by monitoring them, checking them, getting their parents involved, getting their siblings involved. We can also do it by making available our how would you say it, the programming, the current programming. The current programming is what's bringing them in. Our problem is half those programs are not available to a vast majority of the people. We need to find out ways to make it more accessible, whether it be through viewing nights or just sharing our memberships in these various in Paramount Plus or Hulu or whatever we have. We've got to find ways to do that, and the best way is through our local chapters, but the international has to be involved in procuring the support needed to do those things.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, everybody. I would like to thank each of the candidates for coming on. Thank you for taking the time to come out here. After the show ends, I do ask that each of you stay for just a brief moment. Starfleet, thank you for indulging us this evening. Make sure you tune in to the VIC. The candidates will be there with the Q&A. Q&A. Make sure if you haven't registered for the virtual IC yet, make sure you go and do it. Definitely visit their auction site. It's definitely something to start bidding on. I've already started bidding. Please do not outbid me. Darn it. I'm getting tired of having to go in there and keep pushing bid. Thank you all for the candidates. Thank you all for coming on. And as always, live long and prosper.